Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. From Junk to Judgment Day: How Humans Built the Ultimate War Machine. The silence of deep space always unnerved Lieutenant Naomi Harrison. 5 years patrolling the outer reaches of human territory had done nothing to diminish that feeling. The vast emptiness seemed to watch her, waiting. Her small patrol vessel, the Hermes, drifted through the darkness of Sector 17, supposedly empty space according to Earth Defense Force charts. "Picking up unusual readings, Lieutenant," said Technician James Powell, his eyes fixed on the sensor display. "Doesn't match any known signature patterns." Naomi leaned forward in her command chair. "Hegemony vessels." "No, ma'am, it's not moving at all. Stationary cluster of objects approximately 3 clicks ahead." Standard protocol demanded they report the anomaly to command and maintain distance until reinforcements arrived. But reinforcements were scarce these days. The hegemony, a coalition of 3 technologically superior alien species, had been pushing humanity back for years, colony by colony, planet by planet. "Let's take a closer look," Naomi decided. Tactical approach, minimum power signature. The Hermes glided forward, revealing what appeared to be a massive debris field floating in the emptiness of space. Fragments of metal and composite materials drifted in a slowly expanding cloud. "It's just space junk," Security Officer Tomas Rodriguez commented with disappointment. But Naomi noticed something unusual. Several pieces caught the distant starlight in ways that standard materials shouldn't. The surfaces displayed an iridescent quality, shifting colors as they rotated. "Full sensor sweep," she ordered, "and bring us closer." As they navigated through the debris field, the ship's sensors revealed increasingly bizarre readings. The materials weren't registering properly on their scanners, as if the composition kept changing. "These alloys don't match anything in our database," Powell reported. "Not hegemony tech, not human, not even similar to other known species." Naomi studied the fragments through the view screen. Some pieces showed intricate patterns etched into their surfaces, suggesting they were once components of sophisticated machinery. "Permission to collect samples, Lieutenant?" asked Dr. Prisha Sharma, the ship's scientific officer. "Whatever this is, it's unlike anything we've encountered before." Naomi hesitated. Bringing unknown materials aboard violated at least 3 fleet regulations. But humanity was losing this war. The hegemony's technology outmatched Earth's defenses at every turn. They needed something, anything, that might change the equation. "Prepare collection drones," she decided. "External scans only at first. No physical contact until we've verified there's no radiation or biological hazards." The small robotic drones departed from the Hermes's bay, approaching various debris fragments. Data began streaming back to the ship's computers as the drones conducted their analysis. "This is remarkable," Dr. Sharma whispered, eyes wide as she reviewed the initial scans. "The molecular structure is shifting in response to our scanning beams. It's almost as if the material is reacting to us." "Reacting?" Naomi moved to look over Sharma's shoulder. "You mean it's alive?" "Not exactly, but it seems to respond to energy inputs in ways that defy our understanding of physics. Look here." She pointed to a visualization showing energy patterns flowing through one fragment. "It's redistributing our scanner energy throughout its structure, becoming more organized in the process." Powell looked up from his station. "Lieutenant, I'm detecting power signatures activating within some of the larger pieces. They weren't there before." "Pull back the drones," Naomi ordered immediately. "Wait," Sharma interjected. "The patterns suggest defensive reconfiguration, not offensive capability. I believe it's trying to protect itself or perhaps communicate." Naomi considered their options. Fleet Command was currently dealing with hegemony incursions in 3 different sectors. By the time they processed a report and dispatched a research vessel, this site could be discovered by others or drift beyond recovery. "Collect samples of the smallest fragments," she decided. "Use maximum containment protocols. We'll bring them back for analysis." As the collection drones carefully secured several pieces in isolation fields, Naomi recorded her official log entry. She omitted specific coordinates and details about the materials, noting only a routine patrol with collection of space debris for standard analysis. "Where are we taking these, ma'am?" Rodriguez asked as the drones returned with their mysterious cargo. "Research Station Alpha." Naomi shook her head. Too many questions there, too much bureaucracy. We're going to Outpost Theta. Professor Jackson Wayland heads the research team there. The disgraced physicist, Powell asked skeptically. The brilliant physicist, Naomi corrected, who was sidelined for theories too unconventional for fleet command. If anyone can figure out what we found, it's him. The Hermes changed course, the precious cargo secured in its hold. As they prepared for the 3-day journey to Outpost Theta, Naomi stared at the strange metal fragments through the containment field's viewing port. The surfaces rippled with colors that shouldn't exist, patterns that seemed to respond to her gaze. Throughout human history, the greatest innovations often came from repurposing what others discarded as worthless. Indigenous peoples had fashioned tools from the waste of colonizers. Nations had built weapons from scavenged parts during desperate times. Now humanity faced extinction at the hands of the hegemony. Their colonies fell one by one, outmatched by superior technology and overwhelming force. Earth's defense fleet operated at less than 40% capacity after the devastating Battle of Proxima Centauri. Do you really think some alien junk can change anything in this war? Rodriguez asked quietly as they monitored the ship's systems. Naomi watched the iridescent patterns shifting within the contained fragments, like something awakening from a long sleep. It's not what these materials are now that matters, she replied. It's what humanity can transform them into. Because that was their true strength, not the size of their fleet or the power of their weapons, but human ingenuity and determination when facing extinction. The hegemony saw humans as primitive creatures to be subjugated or eradicated. They had yet to learn humanity's greatest talent, turning the abandoned and broken into something new and devastating. The Hermes accelerated toward Outpost Theta, carrying what appeared to be nothing more than scrap metal. But in human hands, even scrap metal could become a weapon of terrifying potential, perhaps the last hope for a species on the brink of annihilation. Outpost Theta hung silently in space, barely visible against the backdrop of swirling nebula gases. Once a thriving research facility, it had been officially decommissioned 3 years ago. A bureaucratic fiction that allowed Professor Jackson Wayland to conduct his work away from the scrutiny of military oversight. Lieutenant Naomi Harrison felt the slight shudder as the Hermes docked with the station. The airlock cycled open to reveal a tall man with unkempt silver hair and piercing blue eyes that seemed to evaluate everything they fell upon. Lieutenant Harrison, Professor Wayland greeted her with unexpected warmth. When you messaged about bringing something unusual, I expected perhaps some exotic stellar readings, not containment fields. Trust me, Professor, Naomi replied, this is better than stellar readings. The small team followed Wayland through corridors that reflected the station's unique status, half abandoned with empty quarters and powered-down sections, yet interspersed with labs humming with activity. Unlike the sterile, regulated environments of official Earth Defense Force facilities, Outpost Theta had the organized chaos of genuine innovation. Holographic projections displayed complex equations on walls. Makeshift equipment had been assembled from parts never designed to work together. A dozen researchers worked with intense concentration, barely acknowledging the newcomers. Your message mentioned unusual properties, Wayland said as they entered his primary laboratory. Care to elaborate? Dr. Sharma stepped forward, placing the containment fields on a central analysis table. The material absorbs and redistributes energy in ways that defy conventional physics. Our scans show molecular reconfiguration in response to external stimuli. Wayland's eyes lit with immediate interest. He activated an advanced scanner and ran it over one of the floating metal fragments. Fascinating, he murmured. The atomic structure is unlike anything in our database. Can you determine its origin? Naomi asked. Wayland shook his head. Not immediately, but I can tell you this much, these fragments weren't manufactured, at least not in any way we understand manufacturing. The room fell silent. You mean they grew? Powell asked skeptically. More fundamental than that, Wayland replied, studying the readings with growing excitement. The material appears to be processing information at the molecular level. Each atom is arranged in patterns too precise to be random, yet too organic to be constructed. Naomi leaned forward. Can we use it? Earth is losing this war, Professor. The hegemony destroyed our Epsilon colony last week, 15,000 civilians. Wayland didn't answer immediately. Instead, he took one of the smaller fragments and placed it in a testing chamber. He activated an energy field, and everyone watched as the dull metal suddenly came alive, glowing with shifting colors. "It's responding," Dr. Sharma whispered. Wayland nodded, adjusting the settings. "Watch this." He changed the frequency of the energy field, and the metal piece began to change shape, stretching and reforming itself. "Self-modifying materials," Wayland said, his voice trembling with excitement, "but it needs specific energy patterns to activate." He looked at Naomi. "Where exactly did you find this?" "Uncharted space near the boundary of Sector 17, a floating field of debris." "There's more," Wayland's eyes widened, "much more." "Enough to fill a small moon's crater," Naomi confirmed. For the next several hours, Wayland and his team ran continuous tests while Naomi's crew rested. When they returned to the lab, they found the professor surrounded by holographic displays, his eyes red from lack of sleep but bright with revelation. "It's not just material," he announced without preamble. "It's memory." "Memories," Naomi frowned. "What do you mean?" "These fragments," Wayland gestured to the pieces now arranged in various testing apparatuses, "they retain information about their previous form and function. When stimulated with certain energy patterns, they attempt to resume their original purpose." He pointed to one piece that had reshaped itself into a complex geometric structure. "I believe these fragments were once part of an incredibly advanced defense system. When given the right energy signature, they try to rebuild themselves." "If it's so advanced, why was it abandoned as junk?" Rodriguez asked. "Perhaps the civilization that created it was destroyed," Dr. Sharma suggested, "or evolved beyond the need for such technology." "What matters," Wayland said emphatically, "is what we can do with it now. Lieutenant, I need more samples, as much as your ship can safely transport, and I need engineers who think beyond conventional physics." Naomi nodded. "You'll have everything you need. This stays classified at the highest level." 3 weeks later, Outpost Theta had transformed. A dozen of Earth's most brilliant minds, those too unorthodox for traditional military research, had joined Wayland. They worked day and night to understand the alien material, which they now called Prometheus particles, after the mythological figure who gave fire to humanity. Engineer Hiroshi Tanaka, a propulsion specialist whose theories on spatial manipulation had been rejected by the Scientific Council, discovered that the particles could bend local spacetime when properly configured. Dr. Fatima Nasser, an expert in electromagnetic theory, found that when arranged in specific patterns, the material could absorb incoming energy attacks, converting them into usable power. But the true breakthrough came on the 27th day. Wayland burst into the conference room where Naomi was reviewing the latest devastating reports from the front lines. The hegemony had destroyed Earth's largest shipyard, crippling production of new vessels. "It's not just memory," Wayland declared, his voice hoarse with exhaustion and excitement. "It's knowledge." He placed a small device on the table, a cube constructed from the alien material that glowed with internal light. "We've been approaching this all wrong," he continued, ignoring all protocol. "We've been trying to force our technology to interface with the material, but that was the wrong direction. The material doesn't just remember its form, it remembers how to build." He activated the cube, and a holographic display appeared above it, showing diagrams and symbols in an unknown language. "What am I looking at?" Naomi asked. "Ship designs," Wayland replied, barely containing his excitement. "Defense systems beyond anything humanity has conceived. The civilization that built this encoded their knowledge into the very molecular structure of their technology, and we've found a way to access it." Naomi stared at the complex diagrams. "Can we build it?" "Better," Wayland answered. "We can guide it to build itself. Given the right energy and raw materials, the Prometheus particles reshape themselves according to these blueprints. We just need to direct the process." For the first time in months, Naomi felt hope stirring. "How soon can we have a prototype?" Wayland's eyes gleamed. "We've already started, come with me." He led her to the station's largest chamber, now converted into an impromptu shipyard. In the center floated what appeared to be the frame of a small vessel, unlike any Naomi had seen before. The metal glowed and shifted subtly, as if alive. "Meet Lazarus," Wayland said proudly. "The first of a new class of ships. Once completed, it will have capabilities the hegemony cannot imagine." Naomi watched as engineers directed energy fields at the forming vessel, guiding the alien material as it shaped itself. "Will it be enough?" she asked quietly. Wayland placed a hand on her shoulder. "The hegemony believes humans are primitive, inferior. They expect us to use technology we understand. They never considered what might happen if we found technology that even they don't comprehend." As they watched, the ship's frame pulsed with energy, growing and reshaping itself. What had once been discarded as worthless scrap was transforming into humanity's greatest hope, a weapon born from the ashes of an ancient civilization, guided by human ingenuity and desperation. "The hegemony thinks they understand war," Wayland said softly. "They're about to learn what happens when you corner a species that refuses to die." News of Project Lazarus reached the highest levels of Earth's military command. What had begun as a secret operation run by a small crew expanded into humanity's most important initiative. The remaining shipyards, those not yet destroyed by hegemony attacks, were retrofitted to work with the Prometheus particles. Admiral Helena Blackwood, commander of Earth's defense forces, stood beside Naomi in Outpost Theta's observation deck, watching as the prototype vessel Lazarus underwent its final tests. "It doesn't look particularly impressive," the admiral commented, studying the relatively small ship. Unlike Earth's massive battle cruisers, Lazarus was sleek and compact, its hull shimmering with the strange, iridescent quality of the alien material. "Appearances can be deceiving, Admiral," Naomi replied. "Professor, show her what Lazarus can do." A standard military laser cannon powered up in the testing chamber beyond the observation window. The weapon, powerful enough to punch through the armor of a conventional Earth cruiser, fired directly at Lazarus. The energy beam struck the ship's hull and simply disappeared into it. The vessel's surface rippled with color, glowing brighter. "It absorbs the attack," Admiral Blackwood asked, leaning forward. "Not just absorbed," Wayland explained proudly. "Watch." Lazarus's hull pulsed, and suddenly the ship vanished. A moment later, it reappeared behind the laser cannon. "It can phase through solid matter," Naomi explained. "The energy it absorbs powers its unique capabilities. The more you attack it, the stronger it becomes." Admiral Blackwood's skeptical expression gave way to cautious hope. "Can we replicate this, build more ships like it?" "We already have," Wayland answered. "Hiroshi and Fatima have developed new methods to bond our technology with the Prometheus particles. 4 more vessels are under construction at the hidden shipyard in the asteroid belt." Naomi added, "We've learned it's not about forcing our technology to work with the particles, but creating a symbiosis between the two." "Symbiosis," Blackwood repeated, her gaze fixed on Lazarus. "Like humanity forming a partnership with this material," Wayland explained. "The particles remember their original purpose, defense, and humans excel at adaptation. Together, we're creating something neither could achieve alone." Admiral Blackwood straightened her uniform. "I want Lazarus tested against actual hegemony forces before we commit more resources." Naomi had anticipated this. "The mining outpost on Titan has reported hegemony scout ships in the area. With your permission, Admiral, I'd like to take Lazarus and intercept them." "You're not a combat pilot, Lieutenant Harrison." "No, but I've been working with the Lazarus team from the beginning. I understand this ship better than anyone except Professor Wayland and his engineers." After a moment's consideration, Blackwood nodded. "Very well, but take a small support crew. If this works as you claim, it could change everything." 2 days later, Naomi sat in Lazarus's command chair, marveling at how different it felt from any vessel she had piloted before. The interior was a blend of human design and alien technology, with control systems that responded as much to thought as to physical input. "Hegemony vessels approaching Titan," reported Powell, who had insisted on joining this mission. 3 scout ships in standard formation. "Mining outpost defenses?" Naomi asked. "Minimal, they weren't expecting an attack this soon." Naomi took a deep breath. "Let's show the hegemony what Lazarus can do, all systems online." Lazarus accelerated toward the moon, moving faster than any human ship had ever traveled. The Prometheus particles in its hull seemed almost eager, pulsing with energy as they approached the enemy. The hegemony scouts detected them immediately, changing formation to intercept. These were sleek, predatory vessels with the distinctive blue-green hull patterns of the Saurix, the most militaristic of the hegemony's 3 species. They're targeting us, Powell warned, energy weapons charging. Hold course, Naomi ordered calmly. Let them fire first. The lead hegemony ship fired a concentrated energy beam streaking toward Lazarus. Instead of evading, Naomi kept the ship on a direct course. The beam hit Lazarus's hull and disappeared into it. The ship's interior glowed brighter. Power levels increasing, Powell reported with amazement. All systems showing enhanced capability. Now it's our turn, Naomi said. Activate phase technology. Lazarus shimmered and seemed to dissolve partially, becoming ghost-like. Naomi directed the ship straight toward the nearest hegemony vessel. They passed through it like smoke through a screen, but as they did, Lazarus left something behind, a pulse of the absorbed energy released directly into the hegemony ship's core. The enemy vessel exploded from within, torn apart by its own weapons' energy. The remaining two hegemony ships tried to retreat, but Lazarus was suddenly behind them, moving in ways that defied conventional physics. One by one, they were destroyed, not by conventional weapons, but by their own energy turned against them. When it was over, Powell stared at Naomi in shocked silence. Did we just, he began. Destroy 3 hegemony ships without firing a single shot of our own, Naomi finished. Yes, we did. Lazarus doesn't just absorb energy, it can redirect it in ways we're still learning to control. The mining outpost's defense commander contacted them, voice filled with disbelief. Unidentified vessel, please identify. Did you just engage the hegemony forces? We show all enemy ships eliminated. This is Lieutenant Harrison aboard EDF Lazarus, Naomi replied. The threat has been neutralized. Please inform Earth Command, Project Lazarus is a success. When they returned to Outpost Theta, the atmosphere had changed. News of Lazarus's victory had spread, bringing with it something Earth hadn't known in years: hope. Admiral Blackwood was waiting for them along with Earth's highest military council. We've reviewed the battle recordings, she said without preamble. Effective immediately, all available resources will be directed to building Lazarus-class vessels. Wayland stepped forward. We've already begun expanding production. Hiroshi and Fatima have trained teams at each shipyard in the new fusion techniques. Hiroshi Tanaka, a wiry man with perpetually rumpled clothing, nodded. The greatest challenge was getting the Prometheus particles to accept our technology. They have preferences, like they're choosing which of our systems they want to work with. Preferences? One of the council members asked skeptically. Fatima Nasser, tall and serious, explained. The particles respond better to systems designed with certain patterns and energy flows. We've had to redesign our computers, weapons, and propulsion to match what they seem to want. It's more like teaching than building, Hiroshi added. We show the particles what we need and they adapt. Admiral Blackwood looked troubled. You make it sound alive. Wayland shrugged. In a way, perhaps it is. The civilization that created it may have had a different understanding of the boundary between technology and life. Naomi interrupted before the conversation could veer too far into philosophy. What matters is that it works. How soon can we have more ships ready? The first 5 Lazarus-class vessels will be operational within 2 weeks, Fatima answered, with more to follow quickly after. As the meeting continued, no one noticed the small communication device in the corner of the room, its light blinking in an unusual pattern. Someone was listening, someone who shouldn't have been. Far away in the command center of the hegemony's flagship, Supreme Commander Drax received the transmission. The massive reptilian alien replayed the battle footage, watching with growing concern as the small human ship destroyed 3 hegemony vessels with ease. So, Drax hissed softly to his officers, mandibles clicking with agitation, the primitive humans have found something interesting, something that could threaten us. His second-in-command, a female Saurix named Vecta, bowed her scaled head. What are your orders, Supreme Commander? Drax's 6 eyes narrowed. Find out everything about this Project Lazarus. I want to know where they got this technology, how it works, and most importantly, how to neutralize it. The race was on, humanity had found its weapon, but the hegemony had noticed. The war was about to enter its most dangerous phase. News of Lazarus's success spread through human space like wildfire. What had begun as a desperate experiment was now humanity's greatest hope. Production of Lazarus-class vessels accelerated as more of the alien debris field was harvested and brought to Earth's hidden shipyards. Admiral Blackwood stood before a holographic display showing the locations of the 8 completed Lazarus ships, each represented by a glowing point of light. Around her, the War Council watched in silence. The hegemony has pulled back from 2 key sectors, Blackwood reported. Their attacks have become cautious, probing. They're trying to understand what they're facing. General Castillo, a veteran of the early war years, looked skeptical. 8 ships, no matter how advanced, cannot win this war. The hegemony has thousands of vessels. That's why we need to strike now, Naomi argued, pointing to a blinking red dot on the display. Our intelligence suggests this is their main production facility in this sector. If we hit it with our Lazarus fleet, we could cripple their ability to replace the ships we destroy. The council members exchanged glances. For years, humanity had been on the defensive, retreating from one position to another. The idea of launching a major offensive was both thrilling and terrifying. I agree with Lieutenant Harrison, Admiral Blackwood said finally. The hegemony doesn't understand what they're facing yet. We need to use that advantage while we have it. The mission was approved. 2 days later, Naomi stood on the bridge of the laid Lazarus ship, now named Lazarus Prime, as the fleet prepared to jump to the hegemony manufacturing world. All ships report ready, Lieutenant, Powell said from his station. Naomi nodded. Remind all captains, standard attack formation until we encounter resistance, then break into pairs as planned. The hegemony doesn't know that our ships can communicate through the Prometheus particles, so we'll use that to coordinate once battle begins. This was perhaps the most surprising discovery about the Lazarus vessels. They seemed to resonate with each other, allowing instant communication regardless of distance. It was as if the particles remembered being part of a larger system and were eager to reconnect. Jump on my mark, Naomi ordered. 3-2-1's mark. The 8 Lazarus ships vanished from Earth space and reappeared near the hegemony manufacturing world. Immediately, alarm signals blared from the planet below. Hegemony defense ships rose to meet them, weapons charging. They've launched 40 vessels, Powell reported, more launching every minute. Naomi remained calm, just as we expected. Lazarus fleet execute battle plan Omega. The human ships broke formation, moving with impossible speed and precision. As hegemony energy weapons fired, the Lazarus vessels absorbed the attacks, growing stronger with each hit. Lazarus Prime dove directly into the heart of the hegemony formation. A massive battle cruiser fired its main cannon, a beam powerful enough to shatter a small moon. The energy struck Lazarus Prime and simply disappeared into its hull, which glowed brighter in response. Power levels at 300% of normal, Powell reported with a grin. They're just making us stronger. Naomi directed Lazarus Prime toward the planet's main shipyard. Time to show them what that power can do. The ship released a concentrated pulse of energy, the combined power of all the attacks it had absorbed. The pulse struck the shipyard, and for a moment nothing happened. Then, like a ripple becoming a tidal wave, the energy expanded outward, disintegrating hegemony structures and vessels as it spread throughout the facility. The other Lazarus ships were performing similar feats. 2 circled a hegemony dreadnought, phasing through its shields and hull, leaving energy pulses inside that tore the massive ship apart from within. Another Lazarus vessel created a localized distortion in space that trapped 3 enemy ships, crushing them together as if in an invisible fist. The battle was unlike anything seen before. Hegemony tacticians, trained in conventional warfare, couldn't adapt to ships that used their own energy against them, that moved in ways that defied physics, that seemed to anticipate attacks before they happened. Within 2 hours, the manufacturing world was defenseless. Over 100 hegemony ships had been destroyed or disabled, while not a single Lazarus vessel had sustained meaningful damage. Send the message, Naomi ordered as Lazarus Prime hovered over the main hegemony command center. Powell transmitted the prepared statement to the hegemony high command. This demonstration was a fraction of humanity's new capability: withdraw from human space immediately or face complete destruction. As the Lazarus fleet returned to Earth, celebrations erupted across human colonies. For the first time since the war began, humanity had won a decisive victory. More Lazarus ships were under construction, and plans were being made for larger offensives. But far away in hegemony space, Supreme Commander Drax was not admitting defeat. The reptilian commander stood before the hegemony's ruling council, his scales flushed dark with anger. These humans have stumbled upon dangerous technology, he told the assembled leaders. Our scientists have analyzed the battle recordings. We believe they have found artifacts from the precursors. A murmur ran through the council chamber. The precursors were a legendary race said to have ruled the galaxy millions of years ago, leaving behind technology so advanced it seemed like magic. How did primitive humans activate precursor technology when our own scientists have failed for centuries? Demanded Counselor Thex, her translucent wings fluttering with agitation. Drax's mandibles clicked slowly. That is what concerns me most. Our researchers believe these humans are using the technology in ways the precursors never intended. They are channeling energy through these artifacts in dangerous patterns. Explain, ordered the Prime Counselor. The precursors built their technology to create, not destroy, Drax continued. By forcing these materials to serve as weapons, the humans risk destabilizing the very fabric of space-time. Our scientists have detected quantum disturbances around their vessels, minor now, but growing with each engagement. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. You're suggesting these humans could destroy themselves and us with them? Asked Thex. Precisely, Drax confirmed. They don't understand what they're tampering with. We must stop them before it's too late. The Prime Counselor's compound eyes studied Drax carefully. What do you propose, Supreme Commander? A final solution, Drax replied coldly. We have located the humans' primary source of this precursor material, a debris field in what they call Sector 17. If we can destroy it and eliminate their existing vessels, we can end this threat permanently. Assemble your fleet, the Prime Counselor ordered. Whatever resources you require are yours. Back on Earth, the mood was jubilant. For the first time in years, humanity dared to hope for victory rather than mere survival. Admiral Blackwood stood in the newly established Lazarus Command Center, reviewing plans for the next offensive. With 12 Lazarus-class vessels now operational, we can strike at the heart of hegemony territory, she told the assembled commanders. Our intelligence indicates their homeworld defenses are being reinforced, but they still don't understand how our ships function. Professor Wayland frowned, studying the data on his tablet. Admiral, I'm concerned about something our monitors have detected. What is it, Professor? The Prometheus particles are becoming more active with each engagement. The energy absorption and redistribution cycles are accelerating beyond our initial calculations. Is this affecting the ship's performance? Blackwood asked. Quite the opposite. They're becoming more powerful, more responsive. But there's an instability forming in the quantum signature of the particles. It's subtle but growing. Before Blackwood could respond, alarms blared throughout the command center. Massive hegemony fleet detected approaching Sector 17, reported the tactical officer. Over 200 vessels, including their supreme command ship. Naomi studied the tactical display with growing horror. They're heading for the debris field, the source of the Prometheus particles. Admiral Blackwood's decision was immediate. Deploy all available Lazarus vessels to intercept. We cannot lose that debris field. Across Earth space, the 12 Lazarus ships received their orders and jumped toward Sector 17. Naomi, now promoted to captain, commanded Lazarus Prime at the head of the fleet. They outnumber us more than 16 to 1, Powell observed as they emerged from jump space near the debris field. Numbers don't matter anymore, Naomi replied, watching the massive hegemony armada approach. Not with what our ships can do. The hegemony fleet advanced in a perfect formation, hundreds of warships arranged in concentric rings around a massive central vessel nearly the size of a small moon. Supreme Commander Drax's flagship. All ships prepare for combat, Naomi ordered through the particle link connecting the Lazarus vessels. Remember, we're not just fighting for Earth now, we're fighting for our future. The Lazarus fleet formed a defensive perimeter around the precious debris field as the hegemony forces closed in. But something unexpected happened. Instead of immediately attacking, the massive central hegemony ship broadcast a message on all frequencies. The holographic image of Supreme Commander Drax appeared on Lazarus Prime's bridge. His reptilian features were imposing, 6 eyes arranged in a circle around a central sensory organ, gleaming scales the color of burnished copper, mandibles that clicked rhythmically as he spoke. Humans, his translated voice rumbled. You do not understand the forces you are tampering with. The technology you call Prometheus particles belong to the precursors, beings whose science transcended the limitations of this universe. Naomi exchanged glances with Powell, then responded, "We understand enough to defeat your forces, Commander Drax. That's all that matters." "Foolish creatures," Drax hissed. "Each time you use these particles as weapons, you create quantum instabilities that spread throughout spacetime. You risk not just your world, but all worlds." Professor Wayland's voice came through on a secure channel. "Captain Harrison, there may be some truth to what he's saying. The readings I mentioned to Admiral Blackwood, they indicate growing distortions in the quantum field around our ships." "He's trying to trick us," Powell argued. "They're afraid of our new technology." Drax continued, "Our scientists have studied the precursors for millennia. This technology was meant to create, to build, to heal, not to destroy. By forcing it into a weapon, you create contradictions in its fundamental nature. These contradictions are tearing at the fabric of reality itself." On the tactical display, sensor readings suddenly spiked. The debris field behind them was becoming active, the countless fragments of precursor technology responding to the presence of both the Lazarus fleet and the Hegemony Armada. "Captain, the particles in the debris field are resonating with our ships," Powell reported, energy levels climbing rapidly. Professor Wayland's voice was urgent. "The quantum instabilities are accelerating, spreading from our vessels to the debris field. This level of energy could trigger a catastrophic chain reaction." Naomi faced an impossible choice. If Drax was telling the truth, continuing to use the Lazarus fleet as weapons could risk something far worse than losing the war. But surrendering now would mean the end of humanity. "There is another way," Drax said, as if sensing her thoughts. "The precursor technology responds to intent. It was never meant for war, but for cooperation. Our scientists believe it can be stabilized if both our species work together to calm the quantum disturbances." "And we're supposed to trust you," Naomi demanded, "after years of slaughtering humans." "I offer proof of intent," Drax replied. His flagship powered down its weapons systems. One by one, the other hegemony vessels followed suit. "We can combine our knowledge, your innovative approach, with our historical understanding of the precursors. Together, we might harness this technology as it was meant to be used." The debris field was now glowing brightly, pulses of energy rippling through it in accelerating waves. Warning alarms sounded throughout Lazarus Prime. "Captain," Wayland's voice was grim, "we have minutes at most before the quantum cascade becomes irreversible. The particles are approaching critical resonance." Naomi made the hardest decision of her life. "Stand down weapons," she ordered the Lazarus fleet. Then to Drax, "Tell us what to do." What followed was unprecedented. Human and hegemony scientists working together, sharing knowledge across the communications channels. The Lazarus ships adjusted their energy signatures according to hegemony specifications, while Drax's vessel emitted a stabilizing field tuned to ancient precursor frequencies. Slowly, the dangerous resonance in the debris field began to subside. The Prometheus particles, or precursor technology, as they now understood it to be, settled into a stable state, glowing with a steady, peaceful light. "It's working," Wayland reported with astonishment. "The quantum instabilities are resolving themselves." Hours later, aboard a neutral station hastily established at the edge of the debris field, Naomi sat across from Supreme Commander Drax. The contrast couldn't have been more stark, her small human form opposite his massive reptilian bulk. "The technology you discovered," Drax explained, "was part of a precursor terraforming system. It was designed to reshape worlds, to create life-sustaining environments. That is why it absorbs and redirects energy to transform inhospitable planets." "Yet we turned it into a weapon," Naomi said quietly. "As would we had we discovered how to activate it," Drax admitted. "War narrows perspective. It forces us to see only what can be used against our enemies." Admiral Blackwood, who had arrived via transport, spoke up. "Where does this leave our species, Commander Drax? Do we simply return to fighting after this temporary truce?" Drax's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. "Perhaps there is another path. The precursors left us more than powerful technology, they left us a challenge, to evolve beyond conflict, to use their gifts as they were intended." "Cooperation instead of conquest?" Blackwood asked skeptically. "The precursor technology responds to intent," Drax replied. "Perhaps that is the true test, whether we can intend something better than destruction." As the discussions continued, Naomi gazed out at the debris field, now peaceful and orderly, the fragments arranged in a complex pattern by their combined efforts. What had begun as humanity's ultimate weapon had instead become something much more valuable, a bridge between species, a chance to end a war through understanding rather than annihilation. From junk to Judgment Day, humanity had indeed built the ultimate war machine, but its greatest power turned out not to be destruction, but the possibility of peace.